Good evening, beautiful people. This is Matthew Tompkins, your host, Day and Night Podcast. Mark is over there in San Antonio.
How everybody doing?
All right, beautiful people. I want to say thank you. We thank everyone that watched last week's podcast. So far, the viewing is doing pretty good. So we just ask you, just like and subscribe if you can. Do not forget to like and don't forget to subscribe. We got great content coming to y'all, and we just would love to know what your comments are, and want to thank those that actually did comment. And I did put a rebuttal back in there, so if you wasn't able to see it, go ahead and check out the comments and reply back if you like.
In a world of envy, analyze as these guys looks to see. They clones to the naked eye, the dynamic dude. No pesticides, they organic. Day and nights the podcast. In panoramic in 4K, live streaming on your airwaves. No cliche to downplay, this ain't no child's play. Twin brothers close knit, but ain't a gang. They wonders of the world, they monsters. The twin Tompkins, brought only born. They travel the world stomping at the break of dawn daily. The iron's pumping, my brain no brothers, about to bring you their life. Look no further, everybody, cause it's day and night.
The last couple of weeks, you could say that we had some controversial topics, so to speak. I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff out there that can be deemed controversial depending on, how you're looking at it or who's looking at it. So the topic we have today, probably I would think would be, if not the hottest topic, or one of the hottest topics out there. So I'm just going to share something with you all and just let you know this is what we're going to be talking about. Why is guns needed? Or is guns needed? So most people in this country have guns. A great percentage of people have guns. So I did a little research this weekend and come to find out that the population in the United States as of January 2022 is 329 million. So what I have up is the Second Amendment. So most people know what this Second Amendment is, of the Bill of Rights. This is why a lot of people feel as though they purchase guns, and this is why people feel as though they have the right to have and own a gun. So as it states right there, the Second Amendment, a well-regulated military being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms and shall not be infringed. So I'm just going to show something else. A lot of people don't realize this, but this is why the Second Amendment was actually put in place. So I'm not going to, insult anybody's intelligence and stuff. You can read it. But this is the gist or the backstory as far as why the Second Amendment was put in place. So basically it says anti-militarism ranked high among political values that our colonial forebears imported from England. Early Americans believed that standing armies, forces composed of full-time soldiers, became threats to free government without a war to keep them busy. Supposedly, men conditioned to obey orders without question will allow any ambitious general aspiring to become a military dictator. So with that alone, that was the gist of why the Second Amendment was created. So now we're fast forward to 2022. A lot of stuff is going on. So just like last week, this is a lot to unpack. There's a lot of reasons why people purchase guns. So I'm just going to go over a little bit of statistics just to, have a perspective of what it is we're talking about and why is guns important. So as I said, as of, January 2022, the American population is 329 million. Now just peek this right here. The amount of weapons in the United States, 436 million weapons is in the United States. That's more than the actual population of people in the United States. To me, that's scary. That says a lot. That's like a red flag. So it's more guns in the United States than it is actually people. So the average home, or the amount of guns that's owned, is 5. That's just the average is 5 guns. Just let that sink in and let that marinate for a minute. 5 guns. So 77.49 million adults own guns. Not talking about young teenagers, even though it's illegal, but we all know at some point, somehow, they got their hands on guns illegally, or rather legally, if they pay somebody to get it, and so forth. So again, that's 77.49 million adults that have their own guns. In 2020, it was the highest amount of purchases of firearms in the history of the United States. So that could make you think, well, man, was that based off of the pandemic? Which is crazy to me, because during that time, everybody was in lockdown. So if everybody's in lockdown, what are you afraid of? Why was people running out buying weapons? So that's something to think about. And then the FBI, and this is another important piece. The FBI, they can't track the sales of weapons. They can only track the background checks. So that's 39 million, rounded off to about 40 million background checks, as far as what they could actually find out and, know 100% these are legitimate purchases, or people actually have a firearm. And 30% of American adults own a gun. 36% of Americans at some point said they're going to either get a gun or they're thinking about purchasing a gun. And the number one reason for people to purchase a weapon is for personal safety. And then Texas, your home.
Yeah, I'm gonna speak on that once you get done. Go ahead.
So Texas has the highest amount of weapons in the United States. I mean, it makes sense because Texas is the biggest state, so I could see that. And California was number 2. Delaware is the least amount, and I think Wyoming was the highest as far as per capita amount of weapons, and New York is the lowest. So handguns was the highest as far as the percentage, is what people actually own was 82.7% handguns. Number 2 was 68%, which was rifles, and then shotguns came in 3rd place. So like I said, the federal government, they can't track the sales, but they can check the background checks as far as people that actually going and getting a background check to purchase weapons. Now, this is important just for the simple fact that every state that I believe, I have to double check on that, doesn't require a background check. Now, this is only the ones they're tracking legally. These, again, not the ones that people are buying illegally. So it's probably a lot more guns out there than what's being reported. This is only what they can report off of. So let me see. I didn't really want to get into the percentage as far as broken down for the actual races that own guns. I don't think that's really significant, but some people may believe that it is. So I'll just put it out there for those that actually want to know what it is. So Asians comes in at 18% as far as gun ownership. Whites 32%, Hispanics 26.3%, African American or black is 23.6%, and the amount of males that own weapons are 39%, and 45% of people that actually live in a house, somebody in the home owns a gun, and for females it's 40%. And like I said, personal safety came in at number 1 at 63% as far as reasons to purchase a weapon, 40% for hunting, to exercise the Second Amendment, what I spoke on earlier. Now that's what was interesting to me, because they didn't really have a percentage for it. It was just so low that they didn't even add a percentage. So it's crazy, because exercising your Second Amendment, in my mind, is still the same thing as purchasing it for protection or for hunting. But for some reason they had that on there. So just to give some context as far as why the sales and stuff went up or is going up. So in 2022, This is crazy. There's been 300 mass shootings in the United States. Now, just think, we're a little bit past halfway of the year 2022, and there's already been 300.
Right.
So according to CDC, mass shootings is basically 4 more people being killed in the same vicinity or same location. So 300. And like I said, that's probably the ones that was just reported.
Right.
There's no telling the ones that somebody may have been shot and not killed, but just wounded, didn't report it, whatever the case is.
Right.
So, and again, the sales for guns is going up to 43 million, was purchased in 20 to 2021. That's a lot. 45,000 deaths each year by weapons. Young black men are the highest, opposed to elderly white men. Those are the ones just dying the most or being affected the most by weapons. Is 60%, white males, which is suicide, and then black males, young black males, 21,000 was actually was killed, and 38,000 homicides and 90,498 deaths. So it's kind of crazy when you think about it. So for me, we talked about this before, and I don't own a weapon. I'm a firm believer in, if you have stuff like that, regardless what type of weapon it is. Well, I have swords, but that kind of brings.
I don't know about you and the sword.
Yeah, I just cut a head off, cut some arms off.
Right.
But that, to me, you kind of gravitate or bring that energy to you. But it's hard, really, because you got single women out there, that's living in bad neighborhoods and stuff, and they have to protect themselves. If they don't have someone in the home, they got to protect themselves. So to me, I'm kind of split. Before I was like totally against it, but now just seeing stuff that's out there, and I'll give a story later on. But I do understand why some people purchase weapons.
Right. Yeah, that was a lot, like you said, to unpack. I'm gonna ask you a question real quick, and then I'm gonna go into some examples. Like you said, I live in Texas, good old Texas, and like you threw that little percentage out there. It's crazy in Texas because they have the open carry law here, which they just passed last year, to where you can allow yourself to have a weapon visible, and you can carry it anywhere in the grocery store, convenience store. It doesn't matter. But I want to ask you, when you was giving out the percentages, because I think this is a big part of all the shootings that's been going on as of late, is does it break down the age, if they can even figure that out, the age on who's doing all the killings? Because if you notice on the news, a lot of these killings are young people that's doing the ridiculous shootings, which not any of them make sense, but it's a random shooting where they having a beef with each other, and because they can't square and squash the situation, they want to shoot each other. So I was wondering if it had a statistic on the age limit. Probably not, because it's hard to determine that, but I just wondered if you had that ratio.
As far as the one that actually...
Yeah, like who's being shot? Is it mainly like age group from 18 to 21?
Oh,
you know what I mean? Or is it more of an elderly group, or old, not elderly, but older? Because the reason why I'm saying that, a month ago, a guy got shot at LA Fitness outside the gym, where it was 2 guys, they had a beef with each other, they got into a confrontation in the gym, and they knew each other. So clearly this is something that escalated, and they so happened to run into each other in the gym. So as the guy was leaving, he just ran up on him, shot him in the back of the head, execution style, died immediately, and he was 18 years old. Okay?
Yeah. Then
a guy at my job, a coworker, he wound up quitting because he told me on a Monday, it's like a month ago, he came in all sad. He was just like, man, I can't even focus on work. And I said, wow, what's wrong? He said, I just lost my young brother over the weekend. I said, wow, how old was he? He said he was only 15. And he said a guy shot him because they got into it. And again, they couldn't handle the little disagreement. So the guy shot him because he didn't like what he had to say. So instead of old school, you box it out, he wanted to shoot him. and try to make a point. So he was trying to get a rep. Come to find out, this guy was trying to get into a gang. Believe it or not, it's still gangs. And he was trying to get street cred. So he wound up killing the guy's brother because of that. So that's why I was wondering, did they have an age group? But this is where I stand on it. Someone like you, I understand why you need a gun, because like you said, there's a lot of single moms. You got to protect yourself. Like my daughters, I always encourage them to go to at least the shooting range to know how to handle a gun. Because at some point, just people nowadays, they just don't have, to me, it's a mental capacity. If you can't handle a disagreement with each other, the first thing you want to result in is shooting the person, that tells me mentally you're not strong enough to deal with a conversation that you don't agree with. So you want to handle it by shooting somebody. So I get why a lot of women got to protect themselves. Everybody, housewives, families, you got to protect your home. So I get why you need handguns. Like you said, myself, I personally don't carry one. And the reason why I don't carry one is because I'm a firm believer. Dad used to always say this, if you remember. If you don't pull it out, and Jay used to always say this, don't pull it unless you intend on using it.
Right.
Because when you pull it out and you pretend you're going to shoot somebody, you don't use it, the next person might use it on you. So I'm a firm believer, if I pull it, I better use it.
Right.
So I don't want to be that guy that every time somebody pisses me off, I want to shoot them because I have the ability, because I have a weapon. And that's another thing. There's so many people, not everybody, but most people, young, they feel a little bit more braver because they have a gun. So they tend to talk a little bit more smack because they know that's their backup. Mm-hmm. So that's where I don't believe in guns, because I believe there's too many young kids is the ones that's doing all the shooting. That's why I was curious about that percentage. Because here in San Antonio, the shootings that goes on, the vast majority is the age group from 18 to maybe 25.
Right.
And it's always over a disagreement, something stupid, something that they could have easily just squashed, but they want to shoot each other to prove a point. So that's where I'm at on that. I just feel like they should make some kind of law to where if you 21, you got to be able to get a gun. You will be able to get a gun. But like you said, it's a lot of black market out there. So there's a lot of people selling guns illegally where you don't have to go to the store and do the credit background check. So how can you really police that and manage that? Because there's so many people that could go and buy one from a buddy. So that's why I think it's going to be hard to do the gun control. Right. Because there's so many people buying them off the market. You know what I mean? So
yeah. To answer your question about the age, that's the number one age bracket is from 15 all the way up to like 30. Right. They had like a chart, and from 0 to like 100, it was maxed out as far as the age group from 15 to 20. So it is the young ones that's out there killing people and this carrying weapons more so than the older adults. And that's probably the unregistered ones, the ones they can't track.
Yeah, you can't track,
Yeah, and just like you said, it's unfortunate. That's gun control is going to be really hard, in my opinion, to navigate, just for the simple fact that, like you said, with the underground market and the black market, it's no way. You just don't know. Right. How the guns are even getting into the country, one.
Exactly.
And the ones that have access to it, it's not going to me, it's just no way you can control it. Unless you literally go in everybody's home and search, and if they don't have it, then they get locked up or whatever. But if you don't do something to that extreme, it's going to be really hard to manage. I know Bill Biden just put in a law as far as actually requesting more background checks and stuff like that after these mass shootings, but it's only going to limit a certain amount.
Right. But see, that's where, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. This is where I get why he's doing it, but I'm a firm believer, what is the background check going to do? Because again, you can have a clean record of a background. I could go and get a gun if I want to. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to shoot somebody. Right. Now, granted, they could manage and find out, okay, we had a clean background check, but let's say somebody pissed me off one day. Now I got a gun again. Now I feel like, because I have that gun, I'm not going to tolerate crap that I did before. So now I'm going to shoot you. Now you may say, well, it's going to hold you accountable because they can find
Right.
out that it's you. But again,
Right.
that's not going to negate from the person doing something ridiculous, because we all have stressful days. I
Right.
believe part of the problem with the life way it is, with all this going on, it's easier, it's acceptable for people more to want to go and be more violent. For whatever reason,
Right.
we all choose violence to handle our stress.
Mhm.
Our tempers are short, so you can be that regular Biden citizen, and all it takes is somebody to piss you off on the wrong day, and now you carrying that day, you just the wrong day to mess with you, and you just gonna shoot somebody. So that doesn't take away, to me, from controlling the gun control, because it's still gonna be the same thing. I just think it depends on the individual, and we need to look within ourselves. But who is that really gonna work? Because again, every day is different. What happens to us? I was at work. It was a stressful week.
Mhm.
I said this to my buddy. I said, man, if I had a gun, I would shoot his ass right now. Because it was just, the person was just annoying. It was trying to really agitate me, and they knew they was getting under my skin. But again, you got to have that self-control. But it's days where you just don't want to take nothing from nobody.
Mhm.
So even myself, I'm no different. I'm going to sit there and pretend I'm perfect. Yeah, violence comes to everybody at some point. Now, am I really going to shoot them? No, but the thought crossed my mind because it was just that much aggravation.
Right.
So again, I know I'm repeating it, but to me, I believe that's where the problem is nowadays, especially here in San Antonio. I can't speak on all the cities,
Right.
but here, a lot of people, again, is aggravated. I told you the story the other day. I'm driving down the highway coming from work. Now, I own it. I've accidentally swerved a little bit, almost cut the dude off. This guy got so pissed off. Hey, what you doing? And just cussing me out. And I'm normal. You keep coming at me. So I started retaliating, talking smack back. So we're literally going down the highway back and forth, talking to each other, yelling. Nobody really doing nothing but talking smack. So I sped up just because I'm like, okay, I'm done with this guy. He just got too much of a bad day, clearly, because he took the situation and escalated it. So he speeds up and he drives up next to me. He made the indication like pop, 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 pop. Like if I had a gun, I'll shoot you. So that's my whole point. In full circle, what I mean about people in their mentality nowadays is if he had a gun, he more likely probably would have shot me. He could have had one, and he was just insinuating that that could happen to me. But it's just the fact that people can't control themselves. So you can do the background check, but I don't know how much that's going to alleviate. Yeah, you can find out who it was, but is that still going to stop it? You know, this makes sense. Like, you know who did it, so you can put them in bars, behind bars. But it's not going to control the violence. I think this is a point in our life where violence is going to escalate because people can't deal with the stress. Everything's going on. People are short-tempered. They should make it harder on buying guns. I don't know if a background check is going to really make it that much harder. Because again, this guy can buy it, scratch, and people know how to scratch the number off to where you can't even trace it.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know, getting back to the incident you had with the dude in the car, that's the peace sign. He was just saying, peace, my brother, peace, my brother, peace, my brother.
Right, that's what he's doing.
No,
that's a real positive way to look at it.
No, but on a serious note, though, I think with the background checks, what that does is if somebody know that they have a shady background, rather if it's mental, I would say mental is a shady background, but if they have like mental problems or they've been locked up many a times and they know that you can't get a weapon, that may prevent them from getting it. But like you said, and what they're going to do, they're going to just go right around the corner to that dude that's selling it out the car. So it's one of those things, it's uncontrollable. You can try to control it as best you can. So I think this is better to do something than nothing. It's taking action.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Now, how about this? How about a psych evaluation? If you're going to buy a gun, do both. Do the background check, and then you got to see a psychiatrist to see where you are mentally. Because if you kind of mentally unstable, and some people know how to control themselves at the right time, and you could do the background check. They ain't checking your psychological evaluation. They're just checking your history of stuff. Now, let's say they do both, and you had an incident where you had something when you was younger, and they might overlook that. Okay, that was 20 years ago. You passed that, you was a kid. But do a psych evaluation. Just go see a psychiatrist. Like, you got to find one, seek one. And if that psychiatrist deemed you as, okay, he's just a regular person that needs to protect him or herself, we clear him or her to purchase a firearm. Because to me, again, that might be too much for the average person. I ain't doing all that just to get a gun. So again, catch-22. They may not go and do it because it's too much of a process, and they go down the corner and get it from a man selling on the corner. Or if they know they just need it for protection, they'll go through the process.
Right.
But again, it might discourage people that might have that day where they just want to go and cap everybody.
Okay, but I want to touch on the Psych Eval thing. That's a touchy situation just because. So what are you deeming as far as the Psych Eval? So what are you actually looking at? Like somebody that's manic depressant, somebody that's bipolar?
Yeah.
It's medication for that.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. So if you have to have medication, then that rules you out. So again, that may target you. It may sound like it's being biased, but again, this could be a potential person that could be somebody that has a mass shooting one day because they forgot to take that medication. So it's like, look, I'm sorry, you get medication, but what if you forget to take it? Then we want to excuse that because that one day you forgot. So I think that's a good point. That be the criteria. You have to meet the criteria. Again, it sounds over the top, but again, it's going to discourage the ones that might have that situation. Let's say on a psych evaluation, they ask you, like when you do, I don't know if you ever went to a job interview and they ask you those random questions. What would you do if the boss found you and you and the other coworker had a disagreement? How would you handle that? Even though a lot of people will tell us what the person want to hear, you could probably do that in a psych evaluation as well. But again, it gives a little idea of your mentality on how you handle situations. Right. If you had an altercation with somebody, what would be the way you would de-escalate that situation? And if the person answered truthfully, which again, you just got to take that chance and hopefully they do. If they put, oh, I handle it this way, then you be like, okay, this seems kind of sketchy. If he had a gun, is he going to handle it the same way? Because if you have a little bit of a temper, what could you want to do with a gun? You know, what situation did you have when you was really angry, somebody pissed you off? How did you handle that? And again, you're going to take the chance and hope they answer it honestly. So again, that's an honor system kind of in a way. Good Samaritan, you're going to be honest with the questions they ask. So is that going to be foolproof? No.
Right.
But I don't know. I just, yeah.
So what about the, and my man Shannon Sharp used to always, he says this a lot. And I kind of said the same thing.
Yeah.
When emotions are high, logic is low.
Yeah.
So, for instance, like you said the other day, you had an incident you was thinking about, you know, if you had a gun, you would have shot the guy.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times it's not someone that may have, you know, a mental disability. Yeah, it's just the average person that can't control their emotions. And when they get in an emotional state, they react. So that you can't regulate because you can be, just as we're talking right now, they can have a test or whatever and they seem perfectly normal. But when that situation occurs, it's totally different. Like you always say, you're situational. So when you're reading a question, it may strike up, you know, a certain emotion in you. You may respond to it based off of, you know, what you read, but it's not the same thing from actually right there live experiencing something, you know, someone in your face or they cutting you off and they pissed you off, you had a bad day. That same response is not going to be the same response that you might have
on that paper. Question.
Yeah. So now this is me, you know, I'm the conspiracy theorist and all that. So I believe, like I said last week, a lot of this stuff is planned. I think it's an agenda in place. And the reason why I say that, because when I was doing that research, it was saying that the gun sales went up during the mass shootings. And it specifically said that when mass shootings happen, it messes with people psychologically.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So what does it do? It instills fear. So what do people do? They go right and buy weapons. So the more weapons you have out there and the more out of control people, the more chaos you're going to, chaos can happen. So I know I read somewhere where someone was saying they believe or they feel as though they're trying to mandate or implement the what the hell do they call that when they send the people, the police and stuff out there?
Martial law?
Yeah, martial law. Yeah. So they're pushing buttons to get people to the point to where they're so stressful and so fearful that it's going to be like, okay, corral. And I said this when I was in Iraq, or this, I think it was Iraq or Afghanistan. And when I came back, and I saw then, and I think I said this to you before about this. I said I can see the United States getting to how Iraq is, as far as just people driving around with AK-47s and shooting stuff, just going crazy, because there's no laws over there for that, and there's so much illegal, stuff that you can't control it, that it's out of control over there. And I can see us getting to that point. And there's something else that when I was doing the research, the United States has the highest amount of weapons and homicides than anywhere else in the world. Now that's even including, I think, Afghanistan and Iraq. Now don't quote me on that. So people out there, don't be coming at me for that. But even if it's not those places, the other countries and stuff, it's pretty bad over here. And Switzerland. Now this is what kind of like made me think. Switzerland actually issue weapons to their young men. I think at 17 or 18, when they graduate school, they actually issue them weapons. So if something was to happen, just like what's happened when in Ukraine, if they have to pick up weapons to defend themselves, that's what the whole intent, I believe, with the Second Amendment is. So if a military or militia tried to come in and try to overthrow the state or whatever, then people are able to arm themselves. But it's just getting out of control. And I'm gonna use this example. A friend of mine, she told me she was in the store one day and she just bought a weapon. And she was like, she normally carry it or don't take it with her, but for some reason this day she took it with her. So she was in the store and there was this guy standing behind her, and she kind of noticed there was just something off about him. So she looked at him and she left and went to another side. And she noticed he was still staring at her. So she went and got in her car, and she noticed that the dude was looking at her, and he followed her to the car, and he was like coming towards her. And she was like, she reached for the gun and pulled it out and he took off. So if she didn't have that gun, what could have possibly happened to her? So it's like it's needed. It is. It's unfortunate because there's some unsavory people out there, that you have to have it. But I believe that it's getting pushed to that point. To where as people feel as though they have to have it. And I still feel as though that they flood, media and stuff like that with all these homicides and shootings and stuff like that, because it's getting people in an uproar. Whereas on an average day, I've never experienced it here. When we was growing up, we had our little experiences, but as an adult, I've never experienced it. And this goes to, like I was saying earlier, I'm a firm believer in you attract that energy if you carry that energy with you. And as you vibrate and you go higher, in your vibration and frequency, you're not going to be surrounded around those type of people. So that kind of eliminates the possibility of that stuff happening. So I just want to bring up this one slide. All right, so basically what this is what I was telling you about before. So it's a map, and it has household firearm ownership rate, and it has all 50 states, and then it have the percentage with the states with the amount of firearms. So Montana has 60% or more. That's the highest, which is surprising, in the entire United States. 50% is in Wyoming. 20% in Georgia, Carolina, South Carolina. Well, anyway, so just something to give y'all, like I said, some context as far as what states out there actually have the most weapons. So if you don't want to go to that state, you don't go to that state. If you're scared or worried about, too many people having weapons. So if you had a solution, I know you said that do the
Psych Evaluation.
Psych Eval, but other than that, like what solution would you suggest?
I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, it's going to come down self-control on how you handle it. You made a great point, and I was going to allude to that. You kind of took what I was going to say. But when you were saying about when somebody carries the lady friend, you use that example. So I get why she did that, because she had to protect herself. And like you said, the media is the whole issue. They're pushing fear on everybody. And mainly here in San Antonio, again, I'm sure most cities on the news, all you see in the first opening of the news is all about what happened. Again, it's good to be informed, but sometimes you be misinformed. And it's always talking about a shooting. So that's going to heighten more people to, like you said, want to protect yourself. And like I said, even myself, I don't carry, but I keep myself from getting into altercations because I know the average person is carrying. So I'm not going to get in the situation where I'm going to want to get shot because the other dude don't want to handle it the old school way and bring the hands. He want to bring the gun because it's an easy solution. So the way to handle that, again, is going to be self-control. And you have to really have better control of your actions and reactions because, again, the situation may come where that person going to entice you and make you come at them to where you want to pull your weapon. So the best way to fix that is walk away. Perfect example. Today I was with my client, working out. Some people just rude, just don't care. Now, it's the machine where you do the leg raises, right? The one you had the handlebars.
Right.
Now, the guy clearly seen both of us walk over there, put all our stuff over there. This guy, for whatever reason, decides to go walk over there and start using the machine as he seen me put my stuff right there. Now, again, I could have handled that situation different and be like, hey, man, what you doing? Why, you know, if I was really that guy, but I was like, really? I said, didn't you just see me put my stuff right there? Oh, well, you should have let me know the next time. And I'm just like, really? You, common sense, you saw me going over there, but you wanted to ask about it and go over there. So my point is, I could not told my client, I said, I just walk away from situations like that because that could have went south real quick. Right. And he's kind of big dude, so of course he has that ego. Right. So it could have went real bad. Next thing you know, we're getting into it, disagreement. And I'm not saying he's going to just want to shoot me, but again, the argument escalates. People going to say stuff to each other where it's going to trigger that emotion. And that's what happened to that guy that was in LA Fitness a month ago. Right. Got into it, even though they knew each other, dude couldn't handle what he said, so he decides to shoot him. So my point is, end of the day, it sounds easy, and I know most people gonna be like, really, it ain't gonna happen, but you gotta have better self-control. Right. Because even if you have a weapon, and I know there's a lot of good people out there that have weapons that would never use it, never think about using it. But it's the simple fact, again, I'm a firm believer, if I had a gun, at some point I probably would use it because the fear that they put in everybody, I watch the news somewhat. I'm not a news watcher, but again, I know there's so many people that have guns. So I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm getting shot because the other person couldn't handle the disagreement. So the best way to handle it, I avoid people. And I told her that. She's like, really? So you're just going to be to yourself? I said, I'm not going to be to myself, but I read people. Right. If you seem like you that person that's looking for an argument or you had a bad day, I had a bad day, the best way to de-escalate and let it go and be the one to walk away. Because if not, and there's a lot of people down here, and I'm not trying to say the whole city of San Antonio is like that, but it's a good few that where they can't handle a disagreement, so they want to go and get their gun. I was working at this one plant last year, and the guy, again, somebody talking smack to each other. The other guy couldn't handle the words he was saying. He's like, F you then, I'm gonna kill your ass. Watch, catch me outside, watch what happens. So the dude's like, man, whatever. This dude said, I'm gonna go get my gun and shoot your ass. And he blew him off like this dude talking smack. The guy literally went outside to go get his gun, but luckily security stopped him and they pushed him away. But dude was gonna go get his gun and shoot the guy because he couldn't handle the disagreement. And he ain't like that, the fact that the dude made him look like a punk in front of everybody else. So again, to me, it comes down to the end of the day, we could put all the laws out there we want, but it gotta come to the individual. It doesn't mean you're a punk or you weak. You just gotta have better self-control. So like you said it perfectly. I do agree with you on that. It's all about the energy you draw yourself around. Right. That's one thing I'm doing is I pay attention more now to my surroundings. Not that I never did, but now I just know that person seemed like that tight. I ain't gonna put myself in that situation. Sometimes you can't control it. Sometimes bad stuff just come to you. You may be the best energy person around the great people, but it's some negative person out there that's
Right.
going to want to bring that negative energy. So even on that situation, you know, you got to kind of de-escalate it. But it might be that day where you do need a gun.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's just the times we live in. So it's kind of a catch-22. You know, you need it, you don't need it, but you don't want to be caught up where that person gonna pull and you ain't got nothing to do. You know, so that's my solution. It's just better self-control. If you have a gun.
Nah, you hit some good points. It's the one thing you can't control is somebody's emotions.
Right.
But now this is what I was thinking about. Now I don't say have it in every single place, and I know some people are opposed to it, but like metal detectors, not necessarily someone there standing with the wand, but
Right.
they have the metal detectors that when you walk by, you know, it's gonna go off or whatever. It's probably gonna require more manpower, and that's more money for the employer. But in my opinion, any public place, special large gatherings, I know sporting events does it, the courthouse has it, the airport, but restaurants, schools, libraries, anything that's, you know, where it's a lot of people that's going to gather, or, you know,
Yeah.
can, you know, I can't even think of a word, but a lot of people are going to come together.
Right.
Why not have that in place? Yeah, it may be a little inconvenient. It may be a little, you know, troublesome and annoying, but it's a preventive measure.
Right.
Opposed to reacting, opposed to being proactive.
Right.
I think that's one way to eliminate it, because if someone has it, and if it's someone that has a license and they know they don't have any ill intent, yeah, it's going to be cumbersome to have to, you know, show you registered card and all that. But it's preventing that joker that don't have it.
Right.
If I go on there, I might get caught. So then they're not coming in there. Now, God forbid if something happens outside, but it's still a preventive measure. So that's why I feel as though that sometimes that, in a way, they kind of want it to happen, because there are steps that they can put in place, or measures they can put in place that could not prevent it, but it would just cause it to slow down just a little bit, or make that person think a little bit more. You know, because the guy that shot up the school in Texas.
Yeah, Uvalde, yeah.
Yeah, that's like, it shouldn't. After all the mass shootings we had in schools, why are there no metal detectors in schools or security guards? So I think we get too relaxed. You feel as though that was an isolated incident, things are good, and then we let our guard down. And, you know, all schools, in my opinion, should have it.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. Like I said, and it's unfortunate because he can wait for him to come outside of school, but at least you're preventing it. That's making them think, opposed to just, oh, I can just walk into school and do what I want to do. So there's measures out there that can be put in place. Like, it might be kind of annoying. It may work on a person's psyche, because you feel as though that you're in a prison and, you know, you're in an environment to where it's just so unsafe.
Right.
It might work backwards. It might make people even more, you know, purchase weapons, because they're so fearful, because, oh my God, they got all this stuff in place. Who's around? And, you know, but something has to be done. Because before I was totally against it. You know, I was like, anybody that own a weapon, there's something wrong with them. But like I said, what the friend, when she told me what happened, and just sitting back and observing, you know, I can't be just totally ignorant to the fact that there are some people out there that have ill intentions. And at some point, you have to be able to defend yourself. But like I said, that's the key. You know, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's good. It'll probably work anywhere but
Texas.
Because again, they had that open carry law. So you could walk, literally, a guy came in the store about 2 weeks ago. And to me, that's just being arrogant. Because I believe, even though you had open carry, it doesn't mean you gotta be arrogant to show it, just to say, hey, I got a gun. Because the dude literally walked in and had the gun clearly visible in the holster. And he all shopping, and next to one of my friends was like, it could have been a cop undercover or whatever, but then I'd be dumb because now he's exposing himself. So again, because open carry doesn't mean you gotta show everybody. To me, open carry means just you can carry with you, deemed if you have to protect yourself. But this dude, just all visible with the gun, and he had a little strut to himself, like, yeah, ain't nobody gonna fuck with me. So that part, yeah, probably worked in other cities, but here, it wouldn't change anything because the law allows you to walk into convenience stores. Maybe the only place you can't is the schools. Technically, you're supposed not to. Courthouse, anywhere is a government place you can't. But anywhere else, public stores, convenience stores, you can carry with no problem. Nobody can't say nothing to you. The cops can't say nothing to you. You know, they just know you have a gun, but they can't walk up, and like, hey, let me see you. They might ask for your permit because you do gotta carry your permit. Right. So they do make you have your permit at all times, but it's still, you can walk around with it. So that's a good idea. I think I was gonna go another level, but then I'm like, really? Would that even change? Again, somebody pulling the trigger is putting some kind of tracking device on the weapons. And I know it's hard because a lot of weapons is already circulating in the population, so it's hard. Not like you want to do a recall, but on the ones you selling going forward, if you purchase it, you know automatically who fired it because it has a tracking device. Now, you could say somebody can dismantle it and easily take it out. So that probably won't work, but you're right. It's just what other scenarios can you really think of? At the end of the day, it's going to come down to self, evaluation of yourself, knowing that you can't overreact. But, like you said, nowadays it's crazy. It's hard to really walk around without carrying it with. Because I tell my daughters, Keisha and Deanna, y'all need to get a gun just because there's knuckleheads out there and you don't want to be caught up where they shooting at you or shooting you, because you caught in that situation. Now, like you said, you should be able to avoid negative energy like that. But some people, again, I believe that psych evaluation, some people, myself included, but I know that I don't need them. That's why I don't carry, because I know I probably would be that guy. Not saying I'm unstable, but it's just I don't have time to tolerate crap, so that's why I just walk away. Don't even get in an argument. I just deal with people that I know that I can deal with that level. Because if you get to that point where you acting like you're going to get out of control, I just let it go and move on. Right. Because I ain't got time for the silliness anymore. So that's how I get. I'm serious. Like, anybody that gets to the point where they want to argue, I just let it go. Like, you know what, you're right, and I just move on. Even in public places, I don't even have to know the person. It's just their mannerism, that character, the way they act. They look like they want a confrontation. Some people look for it. But I'm serious. Dumb as it sounds, some people have a bad day. They're looking for that person to piss them off just to give them a reason. So. Okay,
I want to go back to the open carry. I kind of like the open carry, to be honest, because I know what state it is, but you can actually have a concealed. To me, that's more dangerous. At least with the open, I know this joker got it. So if something, jump off, or like you said, you can look at him and, kind of measure him up and see if he's upset or if he's just acting funny or whatever. So to me, the open carry, because here in Georgia, they just did the open carry. Mm-hmm. To me, that's what it should be. The concealed is an issue because then you don't know who has it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So the open carry, I think, is a good thing because at least you know. But
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, at least you know if you get into it with them, you only creating that to yourself. Mm-hmm. But again, you may not do too much, and that just gun happy like Bishop. Like I always tell people, I would be Bishop from that movie Juice with Tupac.
Yeah,
he got gun happy and just shooting everybody because he get pissed off because he can. Some people like that. It's just, you may think, well, why would you put yourself in that jeopardy knowing you're gonna go to jail? But again, it's just some people's state of mind.
Right.
They have that superiority because they got a weapon now. They can do stuff that they ordinarily wouldn't do because they have that protection on them. So you're right, though. That does make a lot of sense. You know who you're dealing with, hands on, right off the bat. So, that sense, I agree with it. But I just think down here be an OK corral, like you said.
Yeah.
Old Western days, everybody pulling on each other. Who got the quicker finger trigger? You know what I mean? It's funny, but I'm telling you, it's going to get to that point because it's just shootings every day. And it's not saying that any of them make sense, but some of them just like, really? Just you couldn't handle it any other way? Mm-hmm. But I just think it's easier because you had that gun and you just want to shoot at people because you can. You know, so.
Well, unfortunately, that's in like, lower economical neighborhoods. Because I was up at the gym
Right.
in Alpharetta, Georgia, and nice homes up there.
Yeah.
And not saying that they don't have people up there that, act out of pocket or whatever.
Right.
But there's less likely there's going to be a shooting up there or robbing somebody because most people in that area have something. So a lot of times, like, in lower economical areas,
the crime rate is higher.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think they actually saturate those areas with those illegal guns because they know they can't get the guns legally. So what do? They oversaturate those areas with illegal weapons, and then they just have them kill each other. That's why I think it's designed. It's a plan behind it. But like I said, it's really self. We have to really start with ourselves. But that goes back to last week's topic as far as like, men not being in the home. That has a lot to do with it. Because like you said, you're going to have 40% of, women carry weapons. So if the man is not there to protect them, then...
Do it themselves.
Right. And then the young teenagers, because they don't have that father figure, they're watching movies and stuff like that or listening to, music that's promoting and glorifying it, video games, then what is that going to do? That's going to push them to think it's okay, have no guidance, no mentorship. So it's a lot. It's a lot, in my opinion,
right,
that pushes the reason why this stuff is going on. But it starts at home. Everything starts at home.
Yes, it does. It's going to take a lot of self-evaluation. I'm going to give you one more story, though. Perfect example. I know you like this dude beating that Psych Evaluation. To me, it's a big deal. Now, I used to work for this manufacturing company. This just happened in March of this year, right? And not making a racist thing, but the guy he was a white guy. He was ex-military. Now, the reason why I'm putting that out there is because he was a marksman. He was a sniper in the military. Mm-hmm. So he literally was straight up, oh yeah, I got out for dishonorable discharge. He never really alluded to what he did, but he had a temper problem. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he has access to guns just because when he was in the military. So the point is, this guy, and I'm not lying, this is the truth. They call it 5S because we work for a Japanese company, and 5S means you got to clean when it's downtime. Right. So he got into it with this lady that told him how to do something. Oh, who is she to tell me what to do? And this dude was holding this to his heart. I'm like, it's not that serious, man. No, that's not right. Who she thinks she is to talk to me? He let this carry on for a month, talking about a grudge. So one day, right, they told us to do the 5S. And we cleaning. Now kind of visualize this. It's aisles like in a library. So it's aisles, but it's all tools. Now, I walked up on him, and I'm not lying. He was wedged in between these two counters, and he was pretending that he was shooting the lady that's pissing her off. Like he was like in a motion, like snipering, like pop, pop. I said, hey man, what the hell are you doing? I said, you're crazy, bro. He said, no, man, I'm just practicing. I said, practicing what? He said, I used to be a marksman. So the point I'm making is, psychologically, he was so pissed off with her, he's thinking about killing her. That's how I took it. Because he was back there just like, pop, pop, pop. To me, that's a red flag. And I'm like, damn, they better never fire you. Because to me, you going to be that dude on the news. He's like, oh, that's messed up, man. So what you trying to say? I said, I ain't trying to say nothing. I'm saying you a little crazy. And I'm just joking. I said, I'm just joking because I ain't want him coming back at me. So I said, I'm just joking with you. But I said, what you did is suspect. He's like, no, I just do that when I'm bored. But to me, I'm like, that's kind of deep to be sitting there mimicking, pretending that you're popping people off. And then the bad thing is he wound up getting fired because he got into it with another girl because the guy had a temper problem. He threatened, I'm going to come up here and shoot up everybody. So they automatically, at least they were smart to react. They alerted the security guards. So they escorted him out the building and they had a picture. If you ever see this guy on the premises, let us know, because he is not allowed anywhere in the premises because of the threat that he had made. But the whole moral to that story, again, is I'm all about the psyche. Now, he's ex-military, not putting it on military, but just saying he has the experience. But again, if you go and purchase a gun and you have some kind of mental capacity going on that you don't know about, to me, that's a danger to society. You know, because that guy, obviously, one day is going to pop somebody because he can't handle what people tell him. I just thought that was crazy. It was funny, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, you're going to be that guy on the news, because he was literally just there to and he was always bragging about all the guns he had, and that was his thing. He was saying how that's his sport. Like, he goes out and shoots. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Everybody had their thing. But to me, that would be a person of interest that I keep an eye on. Not saying you're going to be following them all around, but you just want to make sure that somebody like that, you keep an eye on, you know, because he has the experience, for one. And then two, again, mentally something happened to him, because I made a joke with him. Again, we was joking. And I said, do you smoke? He said, nah, I don't smoke. I said, yeah, you look more like an alcoholic. Now, I was just joking. I mean, he said stuff to me. It's not like I was picking on him. We back and forth. And he was all, oh, man, that's messed up. Really? Do I look like an alcoholic? Because I really was. So he's a recovering alcoholic. I was just joking, but he did have that look, kind of like, you know, he drinks a lot. So that's what I'm saying about psychological. Is it got to be some kind of evaluation of people going forward, along with the background check. I think that go hand in hand. Again, it's not going to stop it, but at least gives you a purchase of interest on, okay, yeah, he passed everything, but he still might be a little on that, you know, go far left on the wrong day. You know?
Well, I think you kind of answered your question a couple of episodes back when you said that negativity sells. Well, it's just like with weapons. That's a huge amount of money. Like the NRA makes a lot of money off of that. So it's tied politically. I don't know. This one, I think, is probably the one of the hardest ones to regulate. It really is, because it runs deep, just as far as with money, politics, and then protection. It's just unfortunate. I hate to say this, but like I said earlier, I think really sometimes, depending on where you at, you're going to have more so in certain areas than you do in others, just because the mentality is different. So if you kind of have to separate yourself, you know, not saying that someone in a more astute neighborhood is any more sane than a person that's in a low situation. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying more likely there's a possibility that it's not as many in that area than it is in the other one. So it's less likely of a chance of something happening there than there. You know, I don't know if
it's higher.
I don't know if you saw this video. It was this girl at McDonald's. I think it was McDonald's. And the girl behind the counter was ordering something, and the worker was saying something smart, and she slapped her, or she reached behind the counter and tried to slap her.
I saw it.
She pulled the gun, and the girl ran up on her. I was like, that's crazy. Now, how the hell is a worker with the gun in her pants? So even workers, employees and stuff has to be checked. So that's what I'm saying. There's ways around it that can be prevented. I just think that we get too laxed, and there's no accountability and no responsibility. Because we can't control with other stuff, as far as, you know, what the politicians and all that, because and how the guns are actually getting in here. It's going to get here, just like drugs. It's nowhere around it. So it's just one of those things. It's a hard one. It really is.
It is.
But I mean, if you have nothing else to say, that's going to end this episode for this week.
No, I'm good, but we can go on and on. So I digress. This is a good one though.
All right. So once again, beautiful people, like and subscribe, leave comments. It's just going to make the content better. You know, we know exactly what it is that you're thinking about, what it is you like, you don't like, and enjoy us. Continue to enjoy us. Tune in next week. We're going to have another great episode for you. Until then, as I always say, a thought becomes a belief, and a belief becomes manifestation. Till next week, beautiful people, enjoy.
Sir. All right, you have a good day.
They wonders of the world, they monsters, the twin Tompkins. Brought out only born, they travel the world stomping. At the break of dawn daily, the iron's pumping. I bring no brothers, about to bring you their life. Look no further, everybody, cause it's day and night. Let's go!